Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. In today's video, I want to discuss a little bit about throat chakra and the challenges there within, because it has played out dramatically in my own awakening. And from all of my research, the throat chakra is an area that causes a lot of problems for a lot of people, which really, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense because our whole torso is rather large. So energetically, there's more space for the energy to move around, and then it's like a bottleneck sensation when you get to the throat, because all of a sudden the energy has to make its way through a physically smaller place. And those that have been following my own personal journey know that since 2019, I was faced with severe physical pain. And physical pain or disease or disorders in the body are manifestations in the physical form of energetic disruptions on a higher level. So there is no, this is just a physical issue. Although many people have tried to convince me of that, but have not succeeded. Because what plays out on the physical is the last stop. And what I mean by that is in the energetic realm, we experience all kinds of situations in the etheric, and in experiencing it, it penetrates through our spiritual body, which is our auric field. And it penetrates through our mental body, which is our reasoning and understanding. It penetrates through our emotional body, which is how we feel about the situation. And it finally penetrates through the physical body. So in circumstances that have been very traumatizing or too difficult to deal with, what happens is we aren't able to transmute through that energetic lesson as quickly as we would with another situation. So for example, it's like having quick reflexes. Energetically, we have a lesson that comes in or a circumstance that comes in, and that we need to be able to handle really quickly. So it's like playing tennis. If something comes at us and we go, yep, I'm going to knock that back out. Yeah, I'm going to knock that back out. But the problem is, in our childhood, we don't have the capacity to knock back out, understanding the process of the spiritual learning that goes as it's a flow of energy in through us and out again. And so what happens is we have a circumstance that comes in through us. We can't understand it. We don't understand what's happening. It's too overwhelming for us. Emotionally, it's devastating. And so what we end up doing is we repress. And when we repress, we lodge that into for storage in some location in our physical. So I've talked a lot about how in the physical, the manifestation of disease, I did an entire series of videos in the chakra playlist. There's one for every chakra that is called the physical manifestation of disease and why it manifests there. You know, some people have a weak link, so to speak, in their upper shoulders. You know, they may feel like they carry the weight of the world is the spiritual lesson. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders and I got to solve everything for myself. And over time, because they're holding the weight of the world on their shoulders, they develop upper back issues. Or if you are like me and had a lot of issues with your childhood and being displaced because I was uprooted from my birth family, put into foster care, being put into a medium-sized pot, then uprooted again and put into foster care again, and then uprooted again and put into an adoptive family. So my root chakra never really had a chance to develop normally. So I have a lot of low back pain. I had a lot of other conditions that would be considered root chakra conditions. So to sum that up, we have these life experiences, we have life lessons that we're meant to learn, and when we can't learn them quickly, and that's nobody's fault, some lessons are going to be learned quickly and some lessons aren't, like you learn the lesson, if I touch the hot stove, ouch, physical disruption, I'm not going to do that again. But the problem is we don't learn that quickly for a lot of situations that come into us. And so it takes sometimes decades, sometimes a lifetime. I'm in my 50s now, and I'm only learning lessons now that unfortunately I wish I had learned when I was a child. But I wasn't given that opportunity because of the environment in which I was raised. So how this relates to throat chakra is physically, I developed a very chronic pain condition that went undiagnosed for years. I referred to it as my Russian coach because it motivated me like nobody's business to try to solve all my health problems one after another. And, this being in my mouth, I knew, being a spiritual teacher and being a Reiki master, that this had to do with the throat chakra. And so there was life lessons that I needed to learn in regards to this. And so one of the main challenges of the throat chakra is communication, and communicating our truths and communicating openly and honestly. And that has never been easy for me. So, and this ties into all the other chakras. No chakra, it works independently, because communicating certain things are going to be more challenging than communicating other things. So in the last year, since I now have an official diagnosis, which is like miraculous, and I'm starting to heal it on the physical, I have a fistula, which is a hole that goes from beside my tooth into the roof of my mouth. And I'm working diligently to heal, but while I'm working diligently to heal it in the physical, I'm also working very diligently to heal it in the metaphysical, because both are interconnected and both are at play. And the one thing that I have noticed as of late is that I'm being challenged more and more and more in communication, not just communicating on my videos in a smoother, with fewer ums and ahs and fillers, but also communicating the more difficult stuff. And what is the more difficult stuff? The more difficult stuff is feelings, communicating your feelings. So first step in this was getting into the feeling state. I've done so many videos. My feeling playlist is probably one of my biggest playlists, because learning to feel again, learning that I was allowed to feel, learning how to feel, were all challenges. So that's sacral area, second chakra. And so in order to do that, Spirit put me in an isolation tank for a period of time, completely isolated and alone, away from people. All kinds of relationships fell apart, and I was hermited for an exceptionally long period of time, because first and foremost, I had to learn how to feel. So part one of the challenge in dealing with my throat chakra was actually taking steps back and going down deeper into the sacral chakra. So I had to ground myself and feel safe and stable within myself and the world. I had to start to learn how to feel my feelings, and then I had to learn how to start communicating them. Ooh. And that has been like little challengers coming in and poking me and prodding me in different circumstances in different ways in the last little while, because it's great and all that I've learned how to feel my feelings, but I don't plan to live the rest of my life in a bubble. I do plan to, re-enter society as I'm in this reintegration phase of my awakening. And so what has happened in the last year or so, as you know, the old fell away, it created space for new to come in, and all the new that comes in doesn't stick. It's kind of like steps up to something that resonates at your frequency. So as my frequency has continually been going like this, going up and up with the more healing work I've done over the last 3 years, you know, one step up from where I was presented some interesting challenges, and learning how to like communicate and stand up for myself. I can remember one of the first groupings of people that came in. We were at odds with an ethical question. And I ultimately ended up saying, you know, no, this is not something I can stand for, and I'm exceptionally upset about it. I was only just kind of in my infancy in learning how to communicate and state my feelings, because and so I don't know if I wouldn't really give myself an A grade in that interaction, but I did stand by what I believed in, and I communicated that as clearly as I could. Was it smooth? No. And why wasn't it smooth? And why don't I know at age 52 how to communicate my feelings? Well, because when you're raised in a narcissistic environment, or in an environment where your parents themselves aren't in touch with their feelings, or your parents have their own traumas, or your parents just don't have time, maybe it's a single parent scenario and mommy's not around because she's got to work 3 jobs. There's many types of situations that put you into the disadvantaged state of not learning how to have your feelings, and not learning that it's safe to communicate your feelings. So if you have feelings that, you know, are big and uncomfortable, stop doing that or you'll get in trouble. You know, me trying to communicate I didn't like being shouted out and raged at only got me hit. So we have to first, you know, be, as I said, we first needed to have been taught that it's safe to have feelings, that it's okay to have feelings, that feelings are normal, natural, and part of the human experience. And then we also have to have a parent that has the capacity to hold space and listen to your feelings. So it's not just, okay, yes, you're having anger, or oh, you're having a temper tantrum situation, or yes, you're crying, or, and I can, so that says I can see that you're having that. I'm not letting you, I'm going to let you have that. But then holding space for somebody and listening to somebody's complaints and allowing a child to learn how to say no is not something that a lot of kids were raised, in my generation anyways. You did what you were told, or there was a bit of punishment, plain and simple. So if you were to be served food, something simple, I don't want to eat these Brussels sprouts. I don't like them. Okay, so I have a feeling. My feeling is this tastes gross and it repulses me. I don't want to eat it. Well, if you were raised like I was, tough shit. Eat what's served to you and don't complain about it, or I'll give you something to complain about. So we negate the natural feeling, saying, no, your feelings are unwarranted, unjustified, unvaluable. Shut that shit down. So you're not allowed to have feelings, and you certainly are not allowed to communicate your feelings. And then there'd be, of course, much more bigger feelings that one deals with as they grow up, because you're faced with a whole bunch of issues. And unfortunately, because of the way that I was raised, I was taught that when I communicated my feelings, that was very unsafe. Multiple things could have happened. One, in communicating my feelings, I had to feel the need that I needed to write like an essay and have factual background information to justify why XYZ should be XYZ, and why I should be allowed to do something, or why I should be allowed to feel a certain way, or why I should. And the majority of times I wasn't listened to anyways, even if I did have an essay. So oftentimes people that have a closed off throat chakra or undeveloped throat chakra, it's gone into atrophy. You don't know how to use it. And so you overuse your words, you over express yourself. And that's because you're like pleading with somebody to take you seriously, to listen to you, to care about you, to give a damn. Another situation of when you try to communicate is if you get responded with ridicule. So this is rigidity and say, no, no, no. You're going to do what I say. You're going to be how I want you to be. And no, you don't feel like that. So you get gaslit. And you're like, what? What now? But I do feel like that. But I do feel like that. And the second is if you get ridiculed or bullied or laughed at for your feelings. And that too was a situation that happened. So it became a very nervous tick situation for me to try to communicate to anybody how I felt about things, because it's easy to say positive feelings and say, it's a beautiful day today, I feel fabulous. That's easy. What's not easy is, I'm really cold and uncomfortable, and it's not your house or something. I'm really cold and uncomfortable. Do you have a sweater? Even that would be difficult to say, because you wouldn't want to appear rude, or you wouldn't want to be laughed at, or you wouldn't want there to be repercussions, or worse, you wouldn't want to be ignored. Ignoring me was a legacy I grew up with often. There just simply would be no response. There would be, and this has continued throughout my life multiple times over, where I've tried to communicate with individuals and I've received nothing. Not even a text message, not a acknowledgement of, I hear what you have to say, I need time to process it, I'll get back to you, thanks for the text message. I mean, just nothing, just nothing with certain family members. And that is exceptionally hurtful. And in other situations that played out as well. So here we have a situation where you have somebody who's trying to develop communication about their feelings. So first you had to learn how to feel, then you had to learn how to express the feelings. And there are so many fears associated with that, because there's fear, as I said, of punishment, ridicule, there's fear of rejection, there's fear of being ignored and devalued, minimized. So communicating when you're unhappy about something, or angry about something, or sad about something, becomes exceptionally difficult. It becomes a major challenge that I have carried with my entire life. And communication, as I think you can tell by now, is really, really important to me. I have a very vast vocabulary, because it seemed like I had to express myself in nuanced ways as to not offend, because I'm direct, I'm to the point, I'm quite literal. All of these are autistic traits, and exceptionally truthful. And when you are like that in combination with trauma, so you've got autism and you've got trauma, it is a clusterfuck of communication difficulties in desperately trying to express yourself so that other people can meet your needs. And what's happened over and over and over again is those needs haven't been met. And when they haven't been met, it further debilitates or shuts down the throat chakra to the point where people just stop trying to communicate, or they just go into people pleasing, and it's just like, oh, There's just no point, you know. You wave a white flag and you're like, there's just no point asking them to do something because they're not going to do it. And so therefore I'm just going to tolerate things I shouldn't tolerate, simply because if I don't, there's this added kick of a fear of rejection and or a fear of abandonment, both of which have played out in my life a lot. So interestingly, as I've gone on this awakening path, I have noticed over and over again that I will, you know, level up and then go along at a certain place, learning some new lessons, and then I'll be triggered or challenged by a new sparring partner or partners on to say, hey, wait a second, this isn't right, this isn't fair, I don't like this, this hurts my feelings, you upset me. And each time that I'm going through one of these, it's like a video game of kind of like a new spar partner to see, well, what did you do last time that didn't work? What can you do this time for didn't work? So on a soul level, I'm looking at it from higher perspective and saying that, okay, well, some of these interactions of each taught me how to fine tune my communication a little bit more. So when I info dumped here, that didn't work. Okay, so I need to become more concise. And when I got very aggressive, not so much aggressive, but like firm with boundaries and started implementing boundaries, you know, that worked to a certain extent, but it didn't really get the results that I wanted. When I just blocked people, that didn't be out of fear, you know, because when I started becoming a little bit bigger in social media, you know, people would jump on me and say really nasty things to me, and I would just block. Would be my first response, would be, I'm just that's a no. Now I'm a little bit more picky and choosy, and I look at each situation as like, okay, is this an opportunity to like spar? Do I care about this person enough to like want to explain where I'm coming from? Do I think that it warrants an explanation? What is the fine tuning? What is the nuance in each individual situation? Because I neither want to be in like total silence, nor do I want to be like pushing my opinions onto other people. But I also need to be, as you know, balancing this, able to communicate in relationships that matter to me, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and when I'm upset. And so I've had multiple situations, as I said, over the last 3 years of, you know, meeting with people, and then something would happen, and I would say, okay, here we go again. I'm going to try to communicate as best I possibly can, knowing that this is probably going to blow up in my face, and I'm probably not going to hear or see from this person again, because I have something to say, and, well, they don't like it. So then this has been my whole life of trying so desperately to say, you know, what it boils down to, the root of it, you hurt me. You upset me. This upsets me. You know, when this happens, this emotion is arisen within me. And first, you know, giving myself permission to feel was necessary. And then second, giving myself permission to communicate how I feel was necessary. And I'm also hypersensitive in the world of communication, because there's a lot of styles of communication I won't tolerate. So our communication center is not just how we talk to others, it's how others talk to us. And I won't tolerate gaslighting. I won't tolerate anybody minimizing me. I won't tolerate projection. I won't tolerate any abusive forms of communication. I'm so hypersensitive now that I would rather be without a human than have a human step in and treat me in any way, shape, or form disrespectfully. So in learning to balance this energetic flow that is communicating feelings that somebody else might not be pleased with your feelings, especially if you're calling them out on something that they did. People's normal response is to get defensive. And when they get defensive, it's to jump into any number of, as I said, gaslighting, projecting, minimizing, denial, and all of those types of energies. And then that becomes a shutdown shutdown situation. The two dogs seem to be having a communication breakdown. It's just kind of funny and fitting at the present moment in time, because within communication you can have aggressive communication, like the two dogs that we're just having. You can have passive communication, which is the non-communication that I talked about, and you can have passive aggressive communication, which is like underhanded and nasty. It's just, nobody likes that. You can feel that that's a little bit ick. And then you can have direct communication, and oftentimes when you try to have direct communication with somebody, it blows up in your face, or it blows up in my face quite routinely. So the energies of late have been poking me and prodding me with different situations as they've come in over the years, to keep practicing my communicating when I'm unhappy about something. And it is an interesting challenge. I wouldn't say that I'm a master of it by far, no. I still have works to do to fine tune it, but what I can say is when boiling it down and making it as simple as possible seems to work a little bit better. My last couple of interactions with some friends, and I was like terrified because one of my best friends said something that was very upsetting and hurtful to me, and I was like, I need to preface this with how fearful I am to express my upset, because I'm scared of the repercussions. But here's me trying. Because I do care about you, and I do want you in my life. However, you hurt my feelings. And when it didn't blow up in my face, I was like, what just happened? That's just crazy. And there's other situations going on now where I've had to express how I'm feeling about something, and to have it not blow up in my face, because I'm learning this process of, expressing feelings. One, allowing myself to have my feelings and honoring my feelings, standing up for my feelings, and standing in my own personal power in regards to my feelings involves communication. So I do try always in communicating to start from I feel this, I am experiencing this, I am this when this situation happens. Because as soon as you do you did this, you are that, people get defensive and it blows up. But it still blows up sometimes, because I've had recent situations where I'm like, it really upsets me that this situation is happening, because for example, I recall not so long ago, somebody decided to give me a whole bunch of, a little bit of a lecture, which never works well for an autistic person, but they decided to give me a little bit of lecture about what I should be doing. Meanwhile, I was stone cold sober, and they were still using marijuana. And I said, well, until you are not using marijuana, I don't think you're in the right place to be able to tell me how I should be dealing with my panic, because we're not dealing with the same situation. So that blew up in my face. I tried my very best to try to communicate that, but it was seen as an insult, which I wasn't. I was just saying, until you're in my shoes, perhaps you don't know where I'm at or coming from, or how what is best for me. And I've had other situations come in where, I've had all kinds of situations that were very hurtful and upsetting, and things said to me, and I've had to learn to boundary up. I've had to learn when to walk away, that it's okay to walk away from certain situations, that it's okay to say, thanks, but no thanks. This isn't going to work for me. If you can't validate my feelings, that's not something that's going to be able to work for me. So as I'm learning, as I'm transitioning through, as I'm going through my own spiritual maturation and giving my inner child the freedom to feel and the freedom to speak about her feelings, it means navigating through the world in an entirely new way, like a way I've never been before. So my throat chakra is healing each time I'm challenged to communicate clearly with people what works and what doesn't work for me, and giving myself the permission to do that, to hold space for myself. I no longer expect anybody to hold space for me. I do ask sometimes, are you in a good place to be able to hold space if I'm emoting? Even if I'm not emoting about you, I'm just emoting. It's always kind and nice to say to somebody, hey, I'm having a shitty day. Can you hold space for me while I vent? Because, then I can go, yeah, I can. Or then they can go, yeah. Or they can say, listen, no, I'm really stressed out right now, so I don't have space for you. But when it's even more involved and you are communicating about the relationship and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, that needs to come from a place of, hey, can we hold space for each other right now? And are you willing to actually listen to me and be accountable for your part in this? And if there's no accountability, if there's no understanding, if there's no attempts made to give a damn, then that's communication in itself. Silence is communication in itself. It's the worst kind. It's shitty. But it is communication in itself. It says to the message that you're not important enough for me to respond, and therefore you can't have any kind of relationship with that type of a person, because you need to place your own importance up high enough that you don't tolerate that kind of a thing. So understanding communication, understanding the styles of communication, understanding being clear, concise, and keeping it me focused, as in I feel this is what is real for me, this is true for me, I'm going to stand up for me, me, it's okay. Standing and communicating your truths. It's a practice. It's a pendulum, like anything else that's out of alignment. You'll sway, maybe go too much into too many words, which I used to always do, and try to justify and explain it. And you might swing back into not saying enough and not being entirely clear. So one of the great tools is asking, what did you mean by that? And I'm not always been the best at that, but I can tell, it's a practice. It's a practice. Communication is a practice for all of us in humanity. I think our communications around the world could do with a lot of fine-tuning and work, because we've all been communicated at. Not all of us are empowered to communicate back, because the entire structure has been about the trickle down. So there's always an authority above us that tells us how we should think or how we should feel. And what's happening as we come into the age of Aquarius is we are standing in our own power, and we're saying, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. I thank you for your expertise. I'm going to go a different route. I don't want that course of treatment. I'm going to do something differently. I don't agree with how your group decisions, just because it's a popular decision doesn't mean it's a right decision for you. And I'm going to bow out of that, and I'm going to say, no, I'm not accepting that kind of talk. I'm not accepting this kind of talk. So it's a practice of owning our own truth, owning ourselves, and being in our authentic power that says, yes, no, maybe, this hurt me, I want this, if I can't have that, then this is not going to work. So the negotiating out in the new realm of power dynamics, where we're meeting in a reciprocal place, is an altogether different energy than some of us have ever experienced in our lives. If you need help with communicating and you're going through some difficult communications with individuals in your life right now, and you would like to book a one-on-one with me to discuss, please feel free to reach out. And I want to thank you. Use my communication. It's easy to say thank you. To say thank you to everybody for all the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, the donations, the supers, everything, comments. I'm so incredibly grateful for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for those that appreciate and respect me for my authenticity. I've gotten that a couple times in some communications lately. And peace in.